morning, team! I'm saying good morning, but it's actually really late. It's pitch black outside. Everybody's in bed, but some of you might know my wife was taken to hospital, kind of short notice, in the middle of a stream, actually. But she's home now, and I can get back to doing some work. So apologies again for the delay, but life, it's a bitch, right? It's a bitch, and then it snowed. I like the snow. So today, we're going to look at the last piece of major gameplay that you can implement to your characters, which will push you through that barrier. So I just want to say, awesome job to all the people, check my Twitter feed, who contacted me after implementing the movement stuff, and their logs went up like 10, 12, 13, 14%. That easy. It's that easy. You went from thinking, oh, this actually sucks, doing this and hitting stuff while I move, that's really good, and being able to relax and go, oh, I don't have to be there for like 10 seconds. It's all good, man. I can take my time and sort of trot over there. That made me so happy. So happy. So for all the naysayers, this shit really works, right? This shit really works. So cooldowns. A lot of people don't know how to use cooldowns properly. Good evidence, people bloodlusting in invasions when the mob has like 50% HP left. You don't understand the power of what you're doing. It's annoying for us, and it'll be annoying even more. If you don't know why that's annoying, believe me, by the end of this video, you'll be super annoyed. You'll be super annoyed, but that's okay. It's only an invasion. We can live. We'll get by it. A lot of people don't know how to use cooldowns, mainly because if you're world questing, doing LFR, even normal, and even some heroics, it's not like a big deal. And the only issue you're going to have is really bad damage compared to what you could do. That's the important thing. Compared to what you could do, you're just going to have really bad damage, which is what I'm trying to solve for you. You might have also noticed, the observant amongst you will have noticed this, Blizzard has started using berserk timers in a very different way, particularly in Legion. I found it kind of interesting. Now, Blizzard, when they calculate like how much health a boss should have, they don't work out like, what does a fire mage do? What does a frost mage do? They don't really do that. They work out the raid DPS. What's the average raid DPS? And when it gets to the harder stuff, which is where you'll be going, which is way more satisfying than killing an LFR boss, for example, then you'll start going, oh, it's because when we're with a load of other good players, the damage difference is obscene. Like, it's absolutely criminal. So if you look at, say, my logs in LFR, where I'll be doing like, I don't know, 17% of the damage, right, out of 20 or 25 people, or however many are in LFR, multiply that by all the other DPSs who beat me regularly, right? And then you'll start to see the difference in the amount of boss HP they have to put in there, because it's not like one guy and then everybody else all the way down at the bottom. Now everyone's like a straight line, all just battering this boss to death. And you want to be a part of that, because that's really good fun. Because then you get to have DPS races and stuff. But if you don't know how to use your character properly, you're never going to have good DPS races with people, and that's boring. Honestly, once you get tussle with some other people and you can all sort of like joke about what's happening, it's so much more fun than just being like, I suck. That guy's got way better gear. Bullshit. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. So cooldowns, because you use them in crappy situations where it doesn't really matter, like world questing, you'll blow all your cooldowns, the mob will die. You kill a rare mob, it'll die before your cooldowns come back. A lot of people don't know how to use them properly and don't think about them. And it's actually a really fun thing to do. So today, I'm going to show you how to do it. You can join those top guys, and then you can also be those guys who go in with lesser gear and start smashing people. And I'm sure most of you want that. So let's go. Okay, so let's talk about how cooldowns work in WoW, because this is a tricky one. I actually did this similar video in WoD, and the feedback from a lot of guys was actually that they tried to watched it and they were like, okay, I get this. Who tried to then explain it to their friends. Not clicking. A lot of people don't understand this. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that cooldowns in WoW are best stacked up. And that means that any extra buff you can get for your character is best when it's on top of everything else you can get. So a real simple idea. I have a cooldown called Combustion, right? It engulfs me in flame for 18 seconds, increasing your crit chance by 100%. Grants you mastery equal to 50% of your crit strike stat castable while casting other spells, right? So I get this buff which guarantees crits for me. It looks awesome. But I also have some other things. I have a Rune of Power. Places a Rune of Power on the ground for 10 seconds, increases your spell damage by 40%. Already, you can clearly see that if I'm going to use Combustion, I obviously want to be inside a Rune of Power, because I'm going to have all this extra crit and all this extra mastery, and I want to stick that with all that extra spell damage. Simple enough, right? At the same time, I have the Troll buff. Yes, I rerolled Troll. you can discuss it in the comments. Which increases my haste by 15% for 10 seconds. So now I'm casting faster while doing more spell damage, and they're all critical strikes. It starts to stack up. On top of that, I can add things like a potion. So I increase all my stats by 2,500. So I've got this extra intellect and stuff that I'm stacking up, right? And like giving all this big bonus to myself while still inside this rune of power, while still combusting, while still using berserking, right? On top of that, we can have the most powerful cooldown in the game, which would be Bloodlust, right? Bloodlust is insane, 30% haste that lasts forever. So I'm casting that much faster, hitting that much harder all the time, doing more spells than I could possibly do, critting them all inside a rune of power, and it gets even worse than that. And this is where Legion really went off the rails and Blizzard fucked it up completely, is we have things like Concordance of the Legion Fall, which gives us another 12,100 intellect. On top of that, we have runes of power, we have food buffs, we have flasks. And what happens is during your cooldowns, all I'm trying to say to you, because every class has got some form of cooldown pretty much, is during moments where all your buffs are on top of each other, you do extreme amounts of output. It doesn't matter if you're a tank and you're like stacking cooldowns, and some of them have diminishing returns and stuff with each other. Tanks will get into that, but that's unimportant for what we're saying right now. Similar with healers who stack up like bonus healing trinkets while doing big AoE heals. They just put out ridiculous output all at the same time. This applies to everything. And with damage dealers, you will do more damage in these cooldown windows, and we're going to call them a window, right? So we have this window where we stack all our stuff together. You'll do more damage inside that window than you can possibly hope to achieve elsewhere, right? So that's what you need to understand. Some people believe that having cooldowns spread out so you're always under the effects of some kind of buff is more damage. No, 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 no. No, that's not the case. All of them on top of each other just gives you these extreme moments. So if I have things like a pyro proc where I do 300% additional damage to my pyroblast, right? So I'm hitting that much harder with a rune of power, with combustion, with bloodlust. So it's casting super fast and I can maybe get 2 or 3 of them out. That's where you start to see these people doing these extreme amounts of damage. That's where it's all coming from, is piling cooldowns on top of each other. So with that being said, it's now understandable why most guilds or most raids choose to bloodlust at the beginning of a fight, right? And the reason is everybody's got their cooldowns. Even bad players, probably by accident, even though they don't realize they're doing it, are taking advantage of this system. They're all taking advantage of this system because they're being passively bloodlust. And usually most people have macroed most of their cooldowns together, right? I do the same thing. I'll show you my macros just to confirm my combustion macro. Here it is. So here's my macro for combustion. My macro uses my DPS ring that I used to have, the one that gives 5% extra damage. It also uses my trinket slots. If you don't know this, a little minor tip here, by the way, your item slots on your character actually have a number. Right? So a lot of people make macros like 12 and 13 are your trinket slots. So when they make a macro, they'll be like /use, what's the trinket name? Oh, and they'll put like Terminus signaling beacon in, right? But you don't need to do that. If you do like /use 12 and /use 13 like I have here, and I /use 11, if I have a ring that's like an on-use ring, which Shard of the X-Dart isn't, by the way, if you have an on-use ring, it will use it whenever I press combustion, because it's going, oh, 11's your ring slot. Oh, okay. And then it figures it out for me. It just goes, okay, if you have something in slot 12 and 13 trinkets, it'll just use them. On top of that, I have Berserking, which is my troll racial. And of course, then at the very end, so it stacks all the buffs up. This is what my macro does. It uses everything it could possibly do, and then it stacks combustion on top of all that to get me on my merry way. So I have these for all sorts of different, I have them for my Frost spec and Arcane spec and all that kind of stuff, which uses all the cooldowns at once. And for the simple reason is I want them all to stack up. And if I can fit as many things into one button press as possible, life is so much easier. So much easier. So, at the start, excuse me, at the start of a fight, we want Bloodlust because guaranteed, unless somebody's a complete moron and has used their cooldowns at the wrong, like on the trash. I've seen people pop everything on like, you remember not Garothi, the first boss in the Tomb of Sargeras. If I've been in there in LFR, I've seen people pop everything on like the last Inferno. We're about to pull the boss. There's like no reason to do that. I've seen Demon Hunters like dive into Mater and be like, ah, I'm gonna kill this thing. It's like we're about to DPS the boss, and that thing's dead in like 10 seconds. Like it's such a huge waste. But that's why, okay? So that should all make logical sense to you. But here's the tricky thing. Blizzard has saw fit, and I think this is a good thing, because similar to what I talked about earlier, which was the idea of Blizzard knowing that everybody's going to do crazy DPS at the mythic level and use their cooldowns properly. They've also tried, in several occasions, to change when you should be bloodlusting. Intentionally, because they're adding another level of skill, even if you don't realize it. A lot of fights in Mythic and Taurus actually want you to bloodlust at different times. So like Portal Keeper wants you to do that. Even Garrothi Worldbreaker wants you to do that. King Garroth wants you to do that. They don't want you to bloodlust at the start because that's too easy. It's too easy for everyone to pop off and do ludicrous amounts of damage to the boss and then try and get to the boss end quicker. What they've decided to do instead is put something difficult later in the fight, so guilds are going to go, we need to bloodlust this, because bloodlust is amazingly powerful, because it's giving everybody this mega haste. And what that means is all the players have to adapt to that, and that's where a lot of you guys fall down, is you don't know how to adapt to that stuff, because what it means is you need to be prepared for that to happen, and that means controlling your cooldown usage. Okay, so what you should be doing, as we talked about earlier, is tracking. So I'm going to do my opener here, right? I'm going to do my standard opener, which would be, if I can get rid of this hot streak. So what I would do is, like a standard opener is I would pre-pot at like 3 seconds left, cast my fireball, drop my rune of power, and then go into it, right? And I'm stacking. You can see all the buffs up here. And there we go. We get that pyro proc there. So I'm going to do a mega pyroblast now. Whoosh! Off it goes, 10 million. Got another one. This never happens in raids. And I'm counting here. I'm going like, oh, I've got a power prop, but I've got 2 seconds left, so I can fit that into the combustion. Nice. And that's why we're using the add-ons like we talked about earlier. I want to squeeze as much out of this rune of power as possible. And now I've got no cooldowns. I'm spent. Ugh. Did my bit. I'm all spent out. It's fine. So now we're just in our normal filler phase of the fight. Now, we have to ask questions, and you can see this a lot when I'm streaming and we're doing like a viewer raid or something, is I start looking at the boss HP, and I start thinking to myself, and this is what you guys need to do, how much health has the boss got when my cooldowns come back? So I'll start saying things like, boss is below 50%, and my combustion's about to come back, right? Boss is like 40% HP though. This happens often in LFR. What does that mean? Well, that means I can only, like, in a realistic world, it means I can only use my combustion once more time. That's interesting, isn't it? I can only use it one more time. And this is why fight length is so very important. Like, how long does this fight last? Big question a lot of top-end raiders ask is, what's the estimated time on this fight? Because they're trying to figure out how many times can I use my cooldowns. Now, you might think to yourself, why? You just use them when they come back, right? No. What did we talk about at the beginning of the video? Stacking stuff up is far, far better. Far, far better. If we can do it. If we can do it. Now, there's some differences here, right? Sometimes we can't. Why? We want to use our cooldowns as much as possible. Stacking stuff up is amazing. But missing out on a full combustion or a full rune of power cycle or whatever it is for your class, no, it's not as good as that. Doing combustion twice is always going to be better. Always. It's always going to be better in most occasions. I need to always preface myself. In nearly all occasions, using your cooldowns more often is going to be better, right? That's nearly always the case. So what you'll see is raiders asking, like, what's the estimated time for this fight? And what they're trying to figure out is, how often do I have my cooldowns back? So a lot of people have like 3 minutes and 2 minutes. And what they figure out is, okay, how much leeway do I have? What do I mean by leeway? So let's say we've got a 6-minute fight, right? And we have a cooldown of, say, 2.5 minutes or whatever. We know that by the end of the fight, we can use it at the start. Then 2.5 minutes later, we can use it again. Then 2.5 minutes later, I can use it one more time. It's 3 times. But, that leaves me with some overlap. I'm not going to get it again after that 3rd time, because the fight would need to be like 7.5 minutes. This means that I've got 3 opportunities to use my cooldowns here. And if it's a 7.5 minute fight, as long as I use the second set before 4.5, or 4, because let's say it lasts 30 seconds, then in fact, I've got some wiggle room and when I have to use my cooldowns. This is crucial. Utterly crucial. How much wiggle room do you have so you don't lose out on using your cooldowns, right? He's not going to miss out on any. And that allows you and frees you up for when your cooldowns come back and you're looking at your screen to go, huh, I can wait a little bit here. What am I waiting for? I might be waiting for berserking. I can use my cooldowns now, but in fact, if I wait 10 more seconds, my berserking will be back. Or my potion cooldown will be up. Or I could do something else. Or bloodlust is going to be happening. And bloodlust is amazing, so I'm going to hold on to my cooldowns for it. Do you see what I'm saying? There's wiggle room in boss times. Also why simming, which we're going to get to shortly. I'm just going to mention it briefly now. It's also why simming and people who sim improperly and don't use a proper boss timer mess themselves up. Because you could be simming gear, but if you're using the wrong boss times, you might be simming a certain boss time that actually gave you one full extra use of cooldowns compared to what you can actually use in the fight. Gives you way skewed results. Because it's saying, oh yeah, well in that boss time you can use combustion 5 times because you simmed something like, I don't know, 8 minutes or something crazy, right? And you can use like 5 or 6 times. But the fight's actually only 3 minutes. And it actually only allows for like 2 uses. And you then have this long period of time where you're not using cooldowns and your DPS will be massively different. And the stats that might benefit you in that period of time are way different. But getting back to the point. Super important we figure this stuff out in order to accurately gauge when we can use our cooldowns. But of course, the point I'm trying to stress to you here is that we can adjust our playstyle based on the knowledge. We know how long the fight's going to last. Has this fight got anything that's like going to be a big damage boost? Like, I don't know, Kingarath ads. Kingarath ads have a massive amount of bonus damage taken. So we stack cooldowns on top of that. Because it's not all about the buffs on ourselves. It's also on the damage taken, right? A lot of things have weakened phases and things like that. Where we should be thinking to ourselves, yeah, I could blow my cooldowns now. But if I wait like 10 seconds, I'm going to be able to do twice as much damage. Stack that on top of all the plus damage I'm stacking on top of myself. And suddenly your damage goes, woo! Goes absolutely nuts. Absolutely bananas. If you understand how it works. So I'm hoping by the end of this you understand how it works. All I want you to do is think about your character. That's all I want you to walk away with here. Think about your character, right? Think about what it does. Think about the fights that you do and get out of the habit of seeing your cooldowns come back and immediately use them. Now, sometimes that's the right decision. Don't get me wrong. But because we went through the add-on thing that we talked about in a couple of videos ago, one thing we know, if I come back here, I'm just going to blow some stuff here so we can get rid of it. If we blow some stuff here, you'll notice how much warning I give myself. And then again, if you've ever watched me stream a raid fight, which we do at least, you know, once or twice a week, you'll know that like I can play my mage from this point onwards. This is how silly this is. I can play my mage as long as I don't have to move around too much. I can play my mage with one hand. I often do this, and basically I'm doing the filler stuff. This stuff I'm doing on screen right now is totally irrelevant. I'm just keeping myself ticking over. I'm letting like I have a spell here called Phoenix Flames. I'm just letting them tick over. They need to recount. Oh, cool! I got a pyro proc. Nice. My Rune of Power's back. Now you'll see some players go, "Oh, Rune of Power's back. I've got to cast it." No. Look at my screen. In 40 seconds, I've got combustion. I'm going to need both Rune of Powers for that. So I'm going to wait. I'm just going to chill. No rush. Because it's going to be far better for me to use that inside combustion, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm just going to chill with it. Now, so 17 seconds. Awesome. I've got to be combusting in 10 seconds, right? That's what that countdown's telling... Oh, wait a minute. My trinket's not back for another 15 seconds. Huh. Okay. And then we use the knowledge. We go, how long does the... what? 9. Oh, okay. So the trinket lasts 9 seconds. Oh, my combustion lasts longer than that. Oh, I had a pyro proc. Let's go to it, right? And then that's when we're stacking things up. Now it's all popping off. Just by waiting those extra 5 seconds, knowing that as long as I have 9 seconds inside my combustion to use my trinket, when I can fire it off, oh man, did we pop off so much harder than we would have done by going, oh, combustion's back, I've got to fire it off, right? Oh, Rune of Power's still up. Cool. Let's take advantage of it. Oh, it's run out now. And then we're back to this. It's as easy as that. It really is. I'm just thinking to myself, and that's why I use my add-ons to give me this big warning to say things like, I don't think about it now. I've got nothing to do right now. Look, all my buttons have disappeared. Nothing to worry about. Rune of Power's back again. I know from habit I'm going to want it for that combustion. Oh, there it is. It's in 40 seconds. I have 40 seconds to think about what I'm going to do with this combustion. So I'm just going to wait. Is there a weaken phase coming? I don't know. Oh, yeah, there is. All right, cool. I'm going to wait and see. And then because I have things like, I have a ring that gives me Bloodlust, second Bloodlust, usually, is I can think about, do I want to Bloodlust this one? I'm looking, and then I go, oh, Berserking's got 20 seconds left. And that's when I'm asking myself, is this the last combustion I'm going to be doing during this fight? Or have I got another one coming? Not really sure. Oh, there's a Pyro proc. Anyway, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to Bloodlust the next one. I've got another combustion coming. I'm going to Bloodlust that one, because that's going to be the last one. And that's the one I'm going to use Berserking with. And that's the choices you're making. And it's so easy when you know what to do. Ah, see? The trinket lasts 9 seconds. That's okay, because combustion had 10 seconds left. All knowledge. So I'm getting the full benefit of doing everything. And it's just so simple to do. When you take a step back, you think, is this the last one I'm doing? If that was the last one I'm doing, I would wait to Berserking at the beginning. And things like that. Other things then. Other things then. Now, hopefully most of you have grasped that. I can apply it to your play, because some people who have 3-minute cooldowns will think about a boss that has 5 minutes left on it and try and blow their cooldowns immediately, when in fact you've got like a 2-minute leeway. Or a minute and a half. To think about what to do with it. Okay, I can wait. And things you can wait for are powerful buffs, like Concordance and Legion Fall, right? Like trinkets coming back. Like any other self buffs you can give yourself. Like potion cooldowns, like racials. You can think about all these things and you can say, I don't have to blow my cooldowns right now. Doesn't matter when I blow them. The boss isn't doing anything. I'm not going to get another weaken phase, and I can only use these cooldowns one more time. So with that knowledge in my mind, what I can then do is actually say, I'm going to wait till the perfect time. So for a fire mage, it might be something like, I'm going to wait until I have a pyro proc, because this is the last combustion I'm going to be doing during this fight. I can afford to wait. I can hang on until I get the pyro proc, and I'll fish for it, is what it's called. It's like I'll fish for it, because I want to go into it with that pyro proc, right? I want to get ready for it. I want it to happen. I'm mumbling here, hoping it's going to happen. It's not going to happen for me, is it? But you get the idea, is I can wait, because I'm never going to be able to use combustion again. Is I can hang on and say, right, I want that combustion proc. I want that pyro proc. I want my braces to work. You're a fucker, game. You're a fucker. I'm going to wait until that right time in order to activate this. But you get the idea, is that I could fish for it, and I'm going to keep fishing for it while I'm talking. But waiting for these perfect opportune moments are what separate the men from the boys, is what I'm trying to say. This is what you do in order to reach the upper echelons. And when you stand side by side, there we go. Oh, right, my brace is procced. Nice, way. Now we're going to go into the last one. Because this is the last time I'll be able to do this. So now I'm going to pop off, and now I'm going to drop some big hammers on this boss. No other procs to go with it, but you get the idea. It was the best opportunity I could have given myself, is what I would have done. You want to create the best opportunities for yourself, and this is where you'll see those wonderful things where you stand side by side with someone similarly geared to you, and probably not with a fire mage, there's a lot of RNG here, but generally speaking, this is where you'll see yourself stack up, because they're going, oh, I have fucking Dragon's Breath back, and I've got to fire it, and I got a braces, I need to definitely room with that, or crazy things like that. But you can apply it in your own way to your character and see what comes out. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope that helps you out. I'd love to see some of you go, oh, okay, this makes sense, because we're going to kind of get into the nitty-gritty after this. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.